What's up, guys? I'm back with another video, and today I'm a little more excited than usual, and that is because the NBA season is right around the corner. We are 2 days away from the regular season starting, and it's just crazy to think that we literally had NBA basketball 3 or 4 months ago, and we're already back. All 30 teams are back and healthy for the most part, and I'm just so excited to see all these guys that we've missed, all these fresh faces in new places, all of these things, man. I'm just so excited to see it. And what a job the NBA has done handling this coronavirus and these hard times. They've just managed to push through all of it and give the fans basketball and provide entertainment for us. So I'm just very, very excited for the start of the season. That being said, today's video is going to be my preseason takeaways. And a lot of these may be subjective, but a lot of them aren't. And my first takeaway is that a lot of the guys that me and others thought would take a lot of time to readjust and to be back to their full selves and their full potential have looked amazing. Kevin Durant, John Wall, Steph Curry, DeMarcus Cousins, even Kyrie Irving, who was out for a lot of time last season, they all looked amazing. We just saw Steph Curry drop like back-to-back games with 30 points. Kevin Durant's looked great. He hasn't played a lot of minutes, but in the time he's playing, we're seeing him do the exact same stuff that he was doing before he got hurt. You know, the dribble into the shot, the dunking, all of that stuff, man. Kevin Durant looked amazing. And even John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins, they looked really, really good. John Wall looked explosive, and he was getting to the basket at ease. He was taking his defenders one-on-one, ISOing and stuff. He looked really good. DeMarcus Cousins also looked great. Although it seems personally to me, when I was watching him, it looked like he lost a lot of weight. He looked really good. His passing ability, man. DeMarcus Cousins is such an underrated passer, man. He's a playmaker, man. And he looked really good. He was even shooting the ball really well. And him and John Wall, I think they just had that chemistry. I don't think that chemistry ever went away from their days playing together at Kentucky. And I think that this leads into my other takeaway that has to do with the Houston Rockets, which is that I think that if James Harden was to play for this team, which at this moment it seems unlikely, it seems like he's going to get traded, maybe even in the next 2 days before the season starts. I will say that if James Harden were to play for this team, me personally, I think that they could be really good. I think that they could be a competitive team in the Western Conference if James Harden were to play for them this season. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Russell Westbrook, when he was there, a lot of the times that when I was watching the Rockets, especially in the playoffs, it seemed like they had a system where Russell Westbrook was over here and their offense was moving over here. And it just seemed like he wasn't a part of their actual flow of the offense and their actual system. And maybe that's because of his desire to be the guy, which is another reason I think that he left. You know, he wanted to be the guy to take the last shot and to be the guy to facilitate everything and who the offense went through. But that's not going to be the case when you're playing with James Harden. And John Wall, I feel like, is just going to be a lot better for them in their system than Russell Westbrook is, because he's a guy that, although he is another guy who wants to be the main scorer on the team, I think that his ability to pass the ball and to be a secondary option and to play make first, I think will definitely benefit James Harden more than Russell Westbrook did. And I feel like he's closer to a guy like Chris Paul in the playmaking sense, which is what I think that James Harden needs. You don't need James Harden to be paired with a guy like Russell Westbrook, who's similar to him in the sense that he's, you know, an ISO player who doesn't really pass the ball. You know, James Harden and him both average a lot of assists, but they don't play make. You know, they're not finding the open guys and driving and kicking. They're driving and dumping it down to the center. That's how they get their assists. But John Wall is another guy like Chris Paul who's a playmaker at heart, and I feel like him and James Harden will definitely complement each other better than James Harden and Russell Westbrook did. And DeMarcus Cousins, Christian Wood, these guys look really good in the preseason. And I don't know which one of them is going to start, but I don't think it matters. You know, I think both of them will be very good with James Harden. Eric Gordon and PJ Tucker are also always quality NBA players, man. They're so good at what they do. And all of that combines to my feeling that if James Harden were to stay in Houston, I think they could be really, really good this season. And I don't know at the end of the day, with how competitive this Western Conference is and with how good the Lakers also look, I don't see them winning, which is why I don't see James Harden still wanting to stay here. I don't see his opinion on this team changing to the point where he's like, okay, well, they look good, so now I want to stay. I don't think that's what it's going to be. I think regardless, he's going to want to be on a different team, and I don't think he ends the season a Rocket either. But yeah, that's my opinion, that if he were to stay, I think that they could be a really good team, although it is unlikely. My next takeaway has to do with the Philadelphia 76ers, who I did a video on, and I talked about a lot of these things in the video, but they were confirmed in their one preseason game that they played where everybody was there, Joel Embiid meaning, because he did miss the second preseason game with a non-COVID related illness. But they looked really good in the game that they played against Boston. That dribble handoff and pick and roll combination with Joel Embiid and Seth Curry, I feel like it's going to be a lot like the pick and roll and dribble handoff combination that we saw with Joel Embiid and JJ Redick a few years ago. They can both shoot the heck out of the ball, and it's just so beneficial to Joel Embiid to have a guy that you can't leave. You cannot leave JJ Redick, and you cannot leave Seth Curry, who he's playing with now. You cannot leave those guys. So you give Joel Embiid the ball in the post, you're not going to bring Seth Curry's guy down to double Joel Embiid, because he can just kick it right back, and that's a wide open three for one of the best shooters in the league. Same thing can be said about Danny Green, who's another guy they brought in. You're not going to leave Danny Green and leave Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid one-on-one in the post, because that's a bucket. And if you leave him, Danny Green's also a bucket. No matter what you say about his playoff performance, Danny Green is still an above-average shooter, like I said in my Sixers video. But another part of the reason why I think they're going to be so good is that the defense is so much improved, because Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris, they weren't great defenders. Danny Green and Seth Curry are above average defenders. Maybe Seth Curry is not an above average defender, but he at least tries enough where he can get in the passing lanes and take the ball away. Danny Green is a very good defender. And I think their defense last year was supposed to be one of the best in the league, and it wasn't really. It didn't live up to that expectation. I feel like it was good, but it wasn't great. But this season, I think that it will be very, very good, and I think they could be one of the best defenses in the league. You got to literally, in my opinion, the best defending point guard in the NBA in Ben Simmons, and a top 5 defending big man in the NBA in Joel Embiid. And when you got that at your center and your point guard position, and you got these guys like Danny Green, Seth Curry, who can provide above average defense for you, I think they're going to be very, very dangerous on both sides of the ball this season. Seth Curry is also going to be a secondary ball handler to take some pressure off of Ben Simmons. Shake Milton and Tyrese Maxey looked really good for them coming off the bench, man. They both had really good performances. And so I think the Sixers are going to be really good. That's another one of my takeaways. And my final takeaway is a lot of the rookies, man. I think this is going to be a really, really good rookie class. We've seen performances from guys like LaMelo Ball. Although the media and some fans have hyped him up a little bit, I feel like he's going to be really good. I feel like he's going to be a lot like his brother in the sense that he's not going to be a score-first guard, but he's a very, very, very good playmaker, and he's going to be a pass-first guard, much like Lonzo Ball is. The one part of his game that I would like to see improvement is his shot form, and I don't want to go back to that because that's literally what we said about his brother, but I just feel like he brings it up from here, and I feel like that allows some guys to block his shots much easier. But, his playmaking was top-notch in the preseason, man. All the looks that he was getting, the behind the back, man, all that stuff, man. It looked really good. And he had his moments. Tyrese Maxey, like I said, for the Sixers, looked really good. Emmanuel Quickley for the Knicks looked really good, man. He was, facilitating their entire offense for, the entire game against the Cavs. And it looked really good the entire time he was playing. He looked phenomenal. Peyton Pritchard is another guy that fell deeper in the draft. But he's a seasoned veteran. I know he's young, but I'm talking about in the college years. He was a senior when he came out, and I think he's going to, a lot of the guys that are older when they get drafted can help the NBA teams right away. Obi Toppin, Miles Powell, Peyton Pritchard. I think these are guys that are going to come in and help their team right away. Peyton Pritchard can be a secondary ball handler to the Celtics, who lost some depth and lost Kemba Walker to injury for at least a few months. So I think Peyton Pritchard can come in and be a secondary ball handler for that team, and he provides a lot of intensity as well, a lot of good shooting. and I think he's going to be really good for him. Also, we saw flashes from guys like Anthony Edwards. We didn't get to see James Wiseman, which was unfortunate, but I think he was dealing with COVID for most of that time. So we'll see him in the regular season. Obi Toppin looked good in his first preseason game. He started to digress a little bit in his last preseason games. He didn't look as explosive, but overall he looked really good. And even guys like Isaac Okoro looked really good for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he kind of got overshadowed by guys like LaMelo Ball. But he had 18 points in the game winner in his first preseason game, and his defense is the best. His defense is literally the best in this draft class. But yeah, a lot of the rookies, man. That's all I really have to say about that. They look really good, and I think this draft class in its entirety is gonna be one of the best ones we've seen in a while. Like top to bottom, I feel like all of these guys are gonna be coming in and playing big roles for their teams right off the bat. So I think that's gonna be really good. And that being said, that's all my takeaways from the preseason. Like I said, we didn't get to see a lot of guys, so I couldn't have too many takeaways. But as soon as the regular season starts, man, I'll be back with videos weekly, and I can't wait for it to get started. So until then, until next weekend, I'll see you guys. So peace.